So as you know, the past few days have been a little bit weird. It seems like I've been texting you and everybody, basically just asking, "Hey, what's going on? When are we going to finally hit 100K?" And we haven't really gotten there. So
No, because
before we, go
and it's
ahead.
I'll give you the spoiler alerts because Jim Cramer. That's the spoiler.
Yes, listen, I saw that and I was like, "No, this is too strong. Even Jim Cramer can't take us on this time." But I was wrong. Anyway, so just to set the stage, I have some questions here. You're in your computer. I'm at computer. It's Thanksgiving Day weekend. I'm back in New England. So let's just start with the first one. So, what does it mean for Bitcoin to reach 100,000 in your mind?
It's more than anything psychological. It's six figures, right? This is the new level that Bitcoin has never had. We're in price discovery right now, and I think that that's the thing that's like surprising everybody. Like, 100K is the psychological supply, right? That's where everybody wants to sell at, and that's where the wall is created. So I was actually joking before about this Jim Cramer, but inverse Jim Cramer, inverse Jim Cramer is a thing because he puts out things to the retail environment so that there's liquidity created to sell into. So when he says,
Liquidity, you
"Oh,
mean that he's the inverse from Kramer effect, right?
yeah, yeah, no, it's an actual thing," but
I know it's so bad, but go ahead.
because he's putting out there, I mean, if you look at the CNBC like terms and all that stuff, it's entertainment.
It is basically, yeah. You
So if
can't
it's
take his
entertainment, they're
advice
just
seriously.
he does that show where he bangs on things and things start like coming. The guy's a joke, but the people who watch him and his investing club and like people who are more tradfi, that those things go on Bloomberg on the terminals and algos are traded because of that. That's what a
Really?
lot
It
of
goes
people
on the
don't.
terminals,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the Bloomberg
yeah. Of
terminals, and do they
course, and that's
and do they say what he says, and they basically do the opposite?
if you program it like that, absolutely,
All right, I didn't know it
absolutely.
was like. I thought it was just for resale and entertainment. I didn't know that the TradFi guys, the guys that went to Harvard and Yale, will also listen. Let's go see what Jim Cramer said, and let's do the opposite.
No, because here's the thing: it's natural. We're living in the world of natural language, right? So, like when this guy Powell, right, the Fed chairman, that prick, when he
And you
goes
can say
out there
whatever
and
you want here,
does,
bro. I agree with you.
yeah,
Everything you're gonna say, I agree with you.
it's First Amendment. Let's go. We're in America. When Jerome Powell goes out there and gives the FOMAC meetings and gives the press conferences, every single word is analyzed to trade on. So that's how the algos work. So the natural language that people are putting out there is absorbing transcripts and people are quants trading on. So when he says something, the inverse happens because that's liquidity being sold into, and that's how Bitcoin still hasn't hit six
Okay,
figs yet.
what you just said upset me. You know why? Because if we would have had the XRP ETFs right now, and the algos would have saw, oh, the SEC chair is leaving, they would have started buying like crazy, and we'd be up way up right now with our XRP holdings. I'm just saying.
But the thing is, it's like Bitcoin is the main indicator for the rest of the market. So once Bitcoin's performing well, then the rest of the markets usually like all boats float together. So
Until alcohol altcoin season, which we'll get there at some point, right?
well, the altcoin, we did the same thing. The
Yeah,
altcoin season, the shit coins,
it's
what I
late for
call
us.
it, the
We're
shit coin
morning guys, by the
season
way. But go ahead. Sorry, go
for
shitcoin season.
sure.
Go ahead.
When that happens, it's gonna be because the Bitcoin dominance is going down. So this is the time for alts to run, right? Because the psychological thing then happens. If people are selling, then they have liquidity to buy things that they might more be interested in, which might be XRP, might be all the Dino coins, XLM, which is stellar, is it's
The
up right
Dino
now.
coins, like my coins, like
Yeah.
Mana and
Yeah, 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 all the
Mana and
ETHs and the
Sandbox.
links. Yep, all those are back, baby.
When they woke up, I was like, "Oh man, they woke up! Like, what's going on here?" I just one
Because
of them.
people are selling into this stuff. The shorts that are being created, which is driving up price. Like I have to look at the charts to see, what the perpetuals are trading on versus the spot. Because if it's Cotango is one, and I forget the name, but when one is leading, I think spot is leading right now, so that's great for the market. But when derivatives are leading, people are shorting into these moves. That's what's raising the price.
Fair enough. So I gotta ask though, because a lot of people are gonna be watching this later on, and they're gonna. Some of them are watching now, and they're gonna ask this question. I think it's very, very important because I would be thinking the same exact thing. Because you and I, you're an OG. You've been in this space for years. My
Too
brother
long,
had
too
one of brothers
long.
too. Yeah, I've only been in the space like really like 4 or 5 years. So I was really dabbling with it. 2015, I had a situation. I talked about it on my TED Talk where I ran into a scam and I got scared off until 2017. But is it too late right now to invest into Bitcoin when it hits 100K? Is it too late?
You'll never be able to time it right, and that's like the thing that is hard for people to understand. When more people start talking about it, that's the smart money, quote unquote, is selling into that, and which is going to drive down price. So it's almost like you almost need like a flush to happen. Some people have to get burned that are over leveraging on some of these ridiculous trades that they're probably under the water on, and they're not doing so well.
Definitely. Although I'm just going to throw it out there, I did something crazy, which I don't think anybody does. I've talked about this in another live. I invested $2,000 into Bitcoin because I knew I was figured, hey, listen, if Trump wins, it can go up. But I never thought it was going to go this high, this fast. But continue.
This fast, I knew it was gonna go this high, and like, and that's again like we're hitting like
Yeah,
100K, and like this wasn't like quote unquote the projection because Bitcoin moves more volatile than any other asset that people have seen because when like now you have all the news items coming in. I heard Rumble is going to do their strategic reserves
that was
in
crazy. I saw that an hour and a half ago, right? I saw that. I was
right,
like, whoa.
and more companies are going to be doing that, which is naturally going to be driving up the price because more interest. Now the next company is going to be like, oh, I need to be that company to get my name in the wire, get my look with the micro strategy effect with Sailor. Like he's creating
Yeah.
debt to buy more Bitcoin and never going to sell it.
I
And a
mean,
lot of
then they can do that.
yeah, a lot of companies are going to copy that strategy. He gave a talk at Cantor Fitzgerald, which that's another thing if you want to go into about that whole thing. There was a Wall Street Journal article that came out
Isn't the
last
head of
night about
Connor
it.
Fitzgerald's? Isn't the head of Connor Fitzgerald going to be on some sort of? Isn't he
He's
going?
Howard Lutnick. He's the secretary now, or he's going to be the secretary of commerce. He was trying to be the treasury
It's still
because
pretty impressive. Commerce is still pretty good. I'll take any
it
of those two.
is. But the backstory is, and this is what's probably going to get this channel banned. Maybe I don't know. That he
Hey, listen,
wanted
if
to
it
go for.
happens, it happens.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, you can edit it out. I don't care. But he was going to go for treasury because the article came out yesterday in the Wall Street Journal that and I've been in the space for a while. But it just goes to show you that like you don't know who's you're doing business with. So Tether is out of, I mean, beyond Bitcoin and beyond XRP and everything, it's the most liquid and highly traded crypto asset every single day.
Yeah, isn't it used to create like it's also used as reserves for other cryptocurrency projects, isn't it? Because
It
it's so
is,
liquid.
and they're trying to move their money into the U.S. to buy treasuries to back that money. They have like $666 billion. I think it was, I'm sorry, million, not billionaire, but $660 million of gold in some Swiss mountain, just like protected, to back some of this currency, and they're using United States Treasury bills as well to back Tether.
Bills or bonds, just to clarify.
Treasury bills, which are bonds, right?
Okay, let me make
And
sure.
the fees that they're getting from that, they're paying Cantor Fitzgerald, who's getting them the deals for these bonds.
So there might be a little bit of a conflict of interest, but let's leave it there. It's interesting, but we'll see what's going to happen with that. But I want to
I mean,
know,
the thing is
like,
that if you're in is the last thing on that. If you're in
all
Treasury,
right.
this is something that is a conflict of interest, but something that if it's overinflated is going to be something that's going to flush out the market again, and we're going to be seeing $45,000, if not $35,000 Bitcoin soon, if this continues to happen.
Hey, if the Bitcoin dominance declines, it is what it is. I'm heavily in altcoins, and I'm sure you know how to rotate out anyway. But this is what I've been telling a lot of my friends because we were supposed to hit 100K. I was in San Diego airport when the city started to go up like crazy. Like it was like midnight here, but it was like 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. in San Diego, and I was like, wow, it's going crazy. The pub key guys, they were like, it's gonna hit 100K tonight,
Yeah,
and then I was expecting it to hit by Friday night. But this is my thinking: the longer that it takes to hit 100K, the better it is for us because I believe that what's happening is I think you could agree to this is that every time we almost hit 100K, we get to like let's say $900 away, people are selling off because they want to sell off before everybody else sells off. Because they think everything else is going to sell off 100K, so they want to front on everybody. So every time, as long as we stay in between this, people are basically cashing out, cashing out, cashing out, trying to front run everybody else. I think the better it is for us because when we get to 100K, eventually, that should mean that hey, this is going to be the only stop now. Versus if we would have hit 100K Friday, we probably would have crashed big time because everybody was selling at the same time. So would you say that
yeah,
that's an accurate assumption?
I agree, and it's what I said before, which is you're going on to. And you hit it on the nail. It's psychological. So this psychological effect needs to just like flush out. And I tell like you probably have friends that contact you and like, hey, what's up with this, dude? Like I have a Coinbase
Oh, people
account
that I
or
thought that I would never talk to me about crypto. People like I
right.
talked to for like a year is like, hey, what's that Bitcoin thing that you were always talking about online?
These people were bored during COVID and everybody has bags that now they see like 2, 3, 4 years later that are just like, oh wow, it's actually moving. So what's up? And what is up is there needs to be a flush in the market. I tell my friends just hold off a bit because I do see us going below 80 or sorry, below 90 to the 80s. Like that flush needs
You
to
mean
happen.
right
There's a
now
lot to,
before we get back to 100K, you think we're gonna hit 100K and then go down?
I mean before the inauguration. I don't think we'll hit 100K before that if I had to be honest.
Oh, you don't think so? Because earlier today you would have said that we would have hit it by next week, right?
I would have said it last when it was going to happen on Friday, right? Like I would have said it then, but like once the weekend, there's no liquidity, and that dries up. And if now you have markets opening up, like you had the effects of what was going on with the war and like the missile and like all that stuff takes precedent over Bitcoin, and
Because there
that
was two
and you
Saturdays ago. It was two Saturdays ago that it started going. Like I was in San Diego and I started Bitcoin just started running out of nowhere like at 2 p.m. And I was like, "What's going on here?" But yeah, generally speaking, you're right. There is no liquidating weekends, but
and it's
it's
price
surprising.
discovery. So like price discovery, what it means is that since it's never been at these levels, it needs to form a high and a low and it's going to range out to trend back up again. So we might see a couple weeks of choppiness, maybe right before the inauguration, to when Trump gets in office, and maybe a day one, you free Ross. Maybe he announces to do with the Bitcoin strategic reserves. Everything's in place psychologically. All right, we're away from this administration with the pro crypto administration right in on day one,
And
and
he gets rid
things
of
are getting
taxes.
done.
He gets rid of all crypto taxes. Taxes on all
Right.
crypto made in America.
Listen, and
Makes
that is
sense.
another thing that, like, I don't know if he's going to do day one. I don't know if he's going to do day 100 or if he's going to do it all. But what I will say to this, and this is what I say to everybody, and I voted for Trump, and I voted a lot because of different factors. But what made me really want to vote for him is I don't want to have any of these bags anymore. Like, if we have this administration that's pro crypto, then everybody has a benefit to be a little bit wealthier than we were, a little bit more financially free, and that's a net positive around the board. So
It helps everybody
I,
because Trump is about to buy back, right? That the cryptocurrency exchange. He has a DeFi project now. The sons are
supposedly, I
involved
saw
in,
that.
so it
I
helps
saw
him. It
that.
helps him out as well. And obviously, what helped. Hey, it was good for the. What's the saying? It was good for the geese. Is goose
Goose,
is for the
geese,
gander.
goose.
Yeah, the goose
Yeah,
for the goose is for the gander. Of the geese or whatever. Yeah. So what's good for him is good for all of us. And we, Fair Shake, they did a good job. Brad Garlinghouse is actually on 60 Minutes. I'm not sure if you saw the news.
yeah,
An
yeah.
interview coming out soon where he's basically saying, listen, we got basically a pro crypto Congress elected, and Trump, we helped him get elected because we wanted to pass all these policies.
Well, that's the other point too, right? Like, there's it's not just him. There's a governmental backing and a mandate to to do a lot of these things, and because of that,
Exactly.
things are going to get done.
And
We,
fast, too. He can get them done fast. He can, like, in 100 days, he can push them out because Cynthia Lummis is ready. The Senate, I think even the new Senate majority leader is pro crypto, right? Ted
yeah.
Cruz is pro crypto. He just bought a bunch of rigs in mining rigs in Texas. Like, even the
Thomas
Democrats,
Massey,
yeah, even the
yeah, some
Democrats,
of the
though.
Koa, what's his name? The guy in California.
The congressman. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
the Asian American one, another one, the Hispanic one, but there's also Christine Gillibrand. She's rated as like she has the highest rating from Fairshake, and
she's the New
she's a
York
Democratic
senator.
senator. Yeah,
Yep.
has a high rating for cryptocurrency, and she works with Cynthia Lummis. Like they're like, hey, we're gonna do this together. So we have the mandate, like you said, from heaven right now. like,
Literally.
like yeah, it's like pass these policies ASAP, and he can't waste time. He only has 2 years before things reverse, historically speaking.
Yeah, and like and that's the thing. Like if it's cyclical and we don't do this in that time, and there's like some bog down, then you're going to see the price of Bitcoin affected. You see all assets affected because we're hitting into new levels where there has to be demand that's buying us up to then keep pushing it. And that comes from the news items. But now, for the first time in our lives in the history of Bitcoin, you're going to see the government start moving on this, the United States government. And if the strategic reserve is actually created, which I think it will, you have states that want to do it as well. I think Pennsylvania passed the bill recently. So if you and
Pennsylvania,
Texas, I think as well.
Wyoming also
Right.
finally decided they're going to use Solana and Avalanche for their stablecoin, right? at the state level.
I didn't hear that. I mean, I think that that's something that I may have seen, but I trust you. And like you start seeing like all these states start implementing this into their legislation, and that's something that's going to fuel a federal mandate for this as well, which I think Trump already has. I think converting some of the Bitcoin they already have there into just putting it in a reserve instead of selling it, like Germany did. They sold like 60 billion or something like that they
At
had.
the time, it seemed like a smart thing to do because they crashed, but now they're looking back and they're like, "Holy shit, we effed up." Well, I'm
Nah,
not sure if we're supposed to swear, but you know, even it's even fueled like Poland. One of the guys running for prime minister in Poland said, "Hey, if they're gonna do this, the strategic reserve in the U.S., we got to hop on this too." And Suriname, the I forget her name, Maya, she's running for president down there. We followed each other on X, great girl. Yeah, she wants Suriname to become the next El Salvador.
El
That's how you say it,
Salvador's doing
Suriname,
awesome,
right?
right? Like you have stuff in this hemisphere. I think Argentina's going to do something. So now, with your examples, Poland and Europe and parts of Asia, I think China unbanned it again for the 17th time, which is great.
Yeah, they don't know what the
India,
heck they're doing.
um,
India, you know, the problem with India, by the way, is that I talked to Indians there. The taxes over there are too goddamn high because they love the
right?
cryptocurrency, and I think own more because we just have more purchasing power per person. But I think that overall, numbers wise, they own more cryptocurrency than any other country in the world. But their
Yeah,
cryptocurrency policies are bad.
I could see that because also there is, and that's not, it's just not there. I mean, there's North Korea that does it. There's places in Europe. There's a lot of scams that go on, right? They're generated because they need to scam each other. And it's just not great for the industry, but we do it here. And it's going back to almost like the Lutnick appointment and Michael Saylor. Like, are these legit scams? Can Michael Saylor keep buying Bitcoin and never selling and issuing debt on his books and people
Yes, he
buying it?
can forever, right? They do that. The rich people, that's how a lot of them live. They just get debt, debt,
So he
debt, debt,
printed the
debt.
infinite money machine. And I was at this Twitter Spaces yesterday. I just asked a
I love Twitter
question because I
Spaces.
was
Aren't they
hearing it.
great?
They're
They're great.
amazing. Flood has a really
It's
good
like a
one
conference. It's
on.
like a conference from your house. But go
It
ahead.
is. It's just on weird times, and it's like sometimes I'm not available, and if they don't play them, then it sucks. But if you do, and I sometimes I just do that. And there was one with Flood who runs the Insilical terminal. It's a trading terminal. It's actually really amazing. He does dinners in New York that I'm trying to go to, and maybe we can definitely get together for
Yeah, I'll
that.
be
That
in
would
New
be
York for
cool.
six. I'll be in New York for 6 months next year. Notice I said 6 months. I think you know why. But I'll be in New
Yeah,
York for
yeah,
six
yeah.
months next year. So January to through May. So if there's anything happening, and we're having, we're going to announce events coming up for cryptocurrency
Right
that
on,
you're
man.
helping out with too. But go ahead. You're saying
Yeah.
the dinner you want to go to? You're
Yeah,
inviting me
yeah,
to?
no, this guy Flood, they were talking about the Michael Saylor strategy and like this infinite money machine that this guy's creating, right? And if more companies adopt this strategy, right? Like I think he was going to talk to Microsoft about this. It's a $3 trillion company. Tim Cook has already said it himself that he owns Bitcoin. Like, if this implementation happens in an Android phone or like an like it's just that's a stratosphere. That's all we need at this point. And I think that that's going to surprise a lot of people how quick that's going to come because the technology is right then and there. It just takes a company that already has their strategic reserves to just say, "Hey, we'll accept more of it if you want our products and as a payment service." So I think the future should be really cool, man.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
So I'm excited too. So next is like I'm not sure like how we've already kind of talked about this, but I guess you can elaborate a bit more. I'll phrase the question this way. It's like, what are the risks of investing in Bitcoin now? Just like a simple question for a simple answer for people that want to know, because there are people watching, they're going to watch this that are going to ask me later a question like this. So I just want to get out of the way.
Well, I'm gonna get this one out of the way. This is not financial advice. This is purely my opinion, but I think you can dollar cost average, like, and it's been the strategy for a lot of people. Like, you don't even have to worry about the price so much as if you adopted almost this strategic reserve strategy that Michael Saylor does, and like all these corporations like Rumble. If you apply it to your personal life and saved, 10, $15 a week, if you could do more, I think that that's the best strategy. I think people are looking for like, when am I going to catch this falling knife so that I can ride new highs? And I think that's the tortoise and the hare. I think the tortoise is always going to win. It's the slower the better. So save the money that you would normally save in your bank and put it in Bitcoin. Or maybe not
There are
all of
people
it.
that do
Maybe
that. And a
Right.
lot of people have done that, and it's actually helped them combat inflation. Like their money's worth. Well, their Bitcoin's going up, but we both know Bitcoin's not going up in value. Maybe we'll get banned for this. The U.S. dollar is going down in value.
It is. What's the correlations? And maybe next time we do this,
Yeah.
I'll bring up the chat, the charts, because looking at the charts is really interesting because right now there's a direct correlation between the dollar and Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's going up. And I think once you start seeing that decoupling, when the dollar starts diminishing in value, which naturally needs to happen for um, this country to do better when things are
Yeah, and I
cheaper.
saw a YouTube video where it basically said that that's why these companies are able to borrow money because before you borrowed a loan, a company took out a loan, an individual took out a loan, and you paid it back. When you take out loans and you never pay back because your asset is always appreciating, then you need to create more money so people can borrow more money.
Right. And a corporate, especially a public corporation, can just issue debt that people buy because they know that they're good for it. The U.S. government does it all the time with bonds. So if that is the strategy going forward, and if you people look at this and go back to your original question, like how do you adopt this strategy? Like when should I buy? Just buy all the time. You should have been buying when people were telling when it was 40 and everybody told you to buy. You're like, it's gonna go
And listen,
lower.
listen. In all fairness, we I've gone through this. You've gone through it way earlier than I have because you were lucky
I've
enough.
gone through it
You were no, sorry, sorry,
two
sorry. You
times
were smart
already.
enough. No, we were not. Nobody's lucky in this space. You're smart enough, and you have a lot of courage because it's difficult. Because it is very difficult. For
Thank
example,
you, man.
me when I tell people I'm in cryptocurrency nowadays. Well, nowadays it's like, oh my god, you're making so much money. No, I'm not saying anything. I've never said that. But in case the IRS is listening, but
Here,
5 months ago,
I'll show
even
you.
five
I'll show
months
you my
ago,
ledger. I'm gonna show you my ledger. How much I have in here.
yeah, yeah, he's throwing that in the ocean later. Yeah, so like a year ago, I'm saying I'm a cryptocurrency. People are like, "Oh, that's you love doing what kids do. That's what
Hey,
16 year
you're
olds
on
do. Get a real
drugs, dude.
job."
You like getting mushrooms from the internet.
Yeah, like you like to you're supporting criminals and all that crazy stuff. Nowadays, people are like, "Yeah, you're so lucky," and I'm like, "Nah, bro, no. I took a lot of abuse and I took a lot of risk too.
Bro,
We buy a lot
these
of
rays that
cryptocurrencies.
have come in are because of that, man. Like it has been a
Yeah,
lot, and in this game and like anything else, it's just about survival. And I think that that's not that I was smarter, and I appreciate you saying that, but it's not. I just was more of a cockroach. Actually, I managed to survive a little bit longer to deal with some nuclear apocalypses to learn from, because a lot of people got burned, and a lot of people will get
you're
burned
always
in the
gonna.
future.
We're all gonna get burned, right? We still keep getting burned, right? It's all
It's the
about
bell chart, right?
winning
It's the
more than you
bell
lose.
curve. Like there's
Yeah.
laggards, and like some people are laggards, and they will have to buy later on. But if that strategy is that everybody's always buying at all times, and it does become the reserve asset, then we have a different world that we're living in, and we're not living in this same world. I mean, we'll still be talking, obviously, maybe it'd be a hologram, maybe it would be right there, but it'd be something
That's the
cool.
future.
It is, but that's the thing. The future is now. Like the Jetsons is now.
Yeah, I
And
posted the Jetsons when Elon Musk unveiled the robots and like
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
flying cars. I was like, this is how Elon Musk sees the world. And I posted a picture of the Jetsons.
And he said it, right. Like he designed like the cyber trucks and all those new cars because he said, I want the future to look like the future.
Yeah, and he actually took a lot of designs from like the '80s movies when they thought, oh,
Right.
this is what the future's gonna look like, and I think that's pretty badass. But so like you already talked about this, but we need to do this just because people need to know, and people are asking me right now, literally on WhatsApp on my computer, how does Bitcoin's price impact other cryptocurrencies? You already explained that a little bit, but explain it
Yeah,
a little bit
no.
more, in terms
The
that we can all
simplest way is
understand.
like it's all boats um, rise, right? When Bitcoin rises, it's like the ocean, right? And like if you look at all these other alt assets, they're gonna rise up when Bitcoin is as well. So like the time to actually invest in some of these crazy, because now it's like meme coins now that's dominating, and I have a
Meme
love
coin
hate relationship
mania.
with him, and my love hate relationship is because I know that it's super volatile and it could be super lucrative and profitable, but it adds no inherent value to anything. So I
I
think
wrote
those
that
are the things
article.
you
Remember, I wrote the
diminish it.
article Valentine's Day last year.
Right.
Well, this year, I was like, meme coin mania. A love hate relationship. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, man. Maybe that's really how I feel. Maybe I got it from that article, man, because it goes to show you that like today there's this site that was, I don't know if you heard about a pump fund.
Yeah, yeah, I saw a lot of the stuff that was being. People are desperate for money and they're doing crazy stuff on live stream
Doing
there.
crazy stuff on stream for money and like get this coin up or I'll kill my fan. Like wild stuff. Like people were like talking about self harm or harming others, and it was something that again that stuff needs to like get flushed out because those are the things that now that it has been absorbed by governments and traditional finance, those are the things that make this look stupid and
Yeah,
retarded.
and you because I
Retarded.
mean, let's be honest about it. When we have to talk about it, why did the internet get big? Because of porn. Sometimes the Silk Road for crypto. I mean, you gotta have something that there's always a little bit of negative when something with new technology. You're always gonna see the you're always and it's always gonna get weeded out, right? And
You're
you're
not
gonna have
wrong.
new
You're not wrong at
technologies.
all.
Yeah,
No, you're not wrong at all, man. That's you hit it right on the head. And if it becomes that, then I think that this is something that is easier to flush out because you have agencies that are looking for this now. Like the SEC, I don't think it's just going to lie down now and let all this happen. Like I think that there needs to be some enforcement for when people are legitimately getting scammed.
definitely. They should
Uh,
have been. They should have been enforcing FTX situation until instead of kicking them to the curb and letting them move abroad. That should have. They should have
ab-
stayed in the U.S. and they should have
absolutely.
been policed. Instead of saying no Bitcoin ETFs, oh, never mind, we have no choice. Ethereum ETFs, I guess, well, that's what we'll do it. We don't really want to. Like, instead of doing stuff
Right.
like that.
And I don't think CZ should have been arrested. You know, like I like at the same time, like the that this administration will be known for what actually drove crypto mainstream because they basically screwed it up so bad that they made everybody step back and realize like wow like this is an amazing technology with amazing people developing it and we're not leading the way, and I think that that's part of what this administration now recognized
They
that
made
if
XRP
you
famous. So they made the word XRP famous, well famous because of John D in the lawsuits.
right. And they actually won. Like at the end of the day, uh, Ripple won. Even if the
Yeah.
case never was like settled, the fact that this guy stepped down, Gary Gensler, is going to step down, and there's a pro crypto person at the head of SEC, that's going to be major.
And there's two Democrats, right? There's the five commissioners. There's Gary Gensler. They're the two Democrats that were anti crypto, the two Republicans that were pro crypto, and then
Yeah,
he was the
one of
tiebreaker.
them resigned. The other one resigned too.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Another Democrat resigned too.
California
So
guy,
that, yeah. So hopefully we can get the other California congressman that's pro crypto to be in the
Rohana is
legislature.
his
Right?
name. Now I remembered.
Yeah,
I have to look that
get
up.
Rohannes to be
Rohana.
on there. Then you have four. We have four votes against one. You can pass things easily.
It's
So listen,
bipartisan,
yes, but again, Rohannes Democrat.
right?
So two
Right.
Democrats,
That's
two
what I'm saying. It's
Republicans.
bipartisan. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So yeah, yeah. So definitely. So I don't think it was necessarily a horrible thing what they did. Okay, a lot of people lost money, got wrecked. We have a bad economy. People own businesses that personally know how to sell crypto to survive. However, generally speaking, because of the prolongation of all this and Gary Gensler, it did give us a lot of time to stack our chips, I would say. I don't know if you agree with that. At lower prices.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of fear. Again, going back to what I was saying originally about the psychology. The psychology was fear, like blood on the streets, and I don't think people are very or courageous to start putting their money in things that they think that are sinking. And it got to the point where after the FTX collapse, I mean, Bitcoin got down to like $16,000, and it was game
Yeah.
over at that point. And it needed to happen because FTX needed to happen. Um, all that stuff needed to get flushed out. CZ unfortunately had to go to jail uh,
And
because it
also,
had to
not just
show.
FTX, there was also the stablecoin thing, and then also like the lending platform. A lot of people got flushed
Oh,
out, right?
Do Kwon and Luna.
Yeah, and
So
also
I got
the
burned
the, the,
them.
the lending platform too that got I forgot which one, but they got it's like
Bitcoin.
people say they say like the beach, right? The beach once the wave recedes, you see who's naked. But
That was a token.
what do you mean?
Well, you just said right now the wave that it
No, no.
recedes. What was that?
There's a saying
Oh,
for
is that a token on
people.
PubFund?
No, like a lot of podcasts have been saying this that like the reason when you saw FTX. Well, okay, so it was a little bit of a crash. Then FTX got exposed, right? These Terra Luna got exposed. Everybody got exposed. The lending platform got exposed. They were like there was a big wave in the cryptocurrency, and then the wave came back, and you saw who was naked and who was not. Like who was naked and
Yeah.
who
Okay, I
had clothes
got you.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a flush that needed to happen. Like you got to wipe these people out because they're just bad long term. And the other point that we didn't touch on is the Trump. He has his own like that world fi liberty thing, which I honestly, I still don't know what that is. But I
We
still
don't know what it
say
is, but I think that it'll give it clarity if he does buy the block exchange with 16 cryptocurrencies on it. I think
right,
we'll understand what we'll see. What I think that's what I think. I think it's a holdings company, kind of like his media company is a holdings company for
right.
True Social. I think it's a similar situation where he's like, listen, let's just have this governance holding company and let's
Entity,
go buy an
right.
exchange. Yeah,
So look at what he did with real estate. He did it all in a Trump name. He bought one big building and then just refinanced that one for another one and
and
have
also
an
he's a smart
entity.
guy. After a while, they would just
He's
basically pay. They were like,
genius.
somebody else would build a building, just put my name on there. You're paying for having
Yeah.
my name on there. After a
The
while,
funny
yeah.
part is that I saw Justin's son that he bought the banana. He bought the dumb banana that was 4.5 million or 5.5 whatever $1 million that was at our piece. He does the craziest, dumbest stuff sometimes. He put $30 million into that World Fire coin.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what's going on with us, and also I don't know. Canada is weird, and the Tron situation. That to me, I don't touch that because I don't really understand what's going on. It give me sometimes give me like that stuff like that gives me FTX vibes. I don't know why. Like
Which
Vitalik
one?
Buterin is the only one. Justin Sun, but at least Vitalik Buterin, like
Yeah.
Ethereum, he's really established. But like Justin Sun, for me, not financial advice. People can invest in Tron, but it just gives me like really weird vibes sometimes.
The thing
But
is that he does really weird stuff, and that's why. And I think that he did that Buffett lunch that he paid like $10 million to go to lunch with Buffett. Like he has money, but where's the money coming from? And I think that that's what.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That I
Yeah.
don't know where he just came out of nowhere. Nobody knows where the money came from. Like, do you have rich parents? Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like it. Just the money just we just came out of nowhere. Hey, I have money. Like, Vitalik, we know the story. Even FTX, I memory free. We know the story. We don't know where this guy came from. He just appeared one day with money.
Yeah, right. Well, going
But
back to that original article with Howard Lutnick that was in, I'm gonna send you the links you could post on the video because that's actually really interesting. The Tether guy, whose Tether's value is about $600 billion at this point, something crazy, like some crazy amount like that. This guy's an Italian that nobody knows who he is, and I think that that's the way that people are operating in this world. That they're rich and nobody knows who you are, but you do things. And if people are going to be crypto rich, we're going to have to get used to that.
yeah, no, I get it, but like certain people, like like the what's his name? The guy, the money. I forgot the guy with the X account. They call him Call the Money. We know his story. He was working at a supermarket. He was like putting stuff into shelves, and he just started investing in money, and he got rich. I just don't know Justin Sun. He just came out of like again. I don't know if he's a plant. I'm not saying I know or not, but
Right.
the whole thing is really weird. But anyway, so back to like what we were talking about before, it's just a couple other questions that people like want to know about. So it's like we've had pops. We're gonna have bear markets. We don't know if this is super cycle. This might be a super cycle, but people want to know: is this a bubble? Just that general
Is this a
question.
bubble? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that probably it's a bubble. I mean, isn't everything a bubble at some point? Like tech was a bubble and then, like we're all using it day to day. So was it really a bubble? Like and there's a lot of froth. And I think that there's going back to all these questions they're awesome, honestly, and thank you for these questions and it's awesome coming in here because they're all interrelated. The leverage that people have is also the froth that makes things a quote unquote bubble. The need so like the whole FTX happening is because crypto at that moment was a bubble, right? And it needed a pop to flush it out. In the early 2000s, tech was a bubble. Like pet.com was worth like crazy amount, things like that, just off like a domain. There was no value there. It needed a pop to get the Amazons, to get now the Netflix and the things that we enjoy now. So we'll live in a world where if we cross 100,000 and that becomes a really strong support, then the sky's the limit. But until we get to that point, we're still seeing lower support here. Like we're not in a safe zone by any means that like, oh, now that we hit six figures, like it's gonna stay there.
It's
Like
gonna
we're
go
not even there
forever.
yet. Right. Like
Yeah,
we're gonna have flushes in the market. And I think typically that tends to happen cyclically right before happening. So we flushed out a lot even post happening, and like now I think we're 200 or some odd days into that to the happening, or 150 days, and these are when these markets tend to start really ramping up, and you're seeing it because you saw it last week. But I think psychologically, once we pass 100K, and then after the inauguration, I think the sky's the limit,
that's cool.
literally.
So And by the way, CZ, his story, I just wanted to throw it out there that his story is very interesting because I found out that at 35, 36, around our age, he sold his house to buy Bitcoin. Again, you see, you know where his money came from. So I mean, that was just,
Right.
I thought it was, well, that, that story was like, I read that story and I was like, this guy bought Bitcoin in 2013, people getting arrested. The Silk Road, Russ got arrested, and he was like, I'm gonna sell my house and put it onto Bitcoin, and now he has $100 billion. Just again, very courageous. It's a very smart thing to do at the same
And
time as well.
and basically became a political prisoner in our jail system because I don't think that he did anything wrong. He paid a fine, and then he served time for. Again, I don't even know the actual crime, but this guy's an innovator. This guy is a smart man. He's somebody who we should bring to the table, even in the US, to be like, not to tell us what to do, but just give us an idea and see maybe if it works for us, how we can implement it because you do know what you're doing.
I heard that the situation was that he basically that a lot of people thought that FTX was a government operation, and he rug pulled them because he invested in them, and then when they wanted to, they wanted to basically, I forgot what exactly happened with FTX, but they had a situation where they basically didn't have any reserves, and he pulled out his investment and they crashed.
Yeah, I remember
It's
that
easy.
vividly because it was like in a matter of hours that news broke that Ellison, the SPF's chick, tweets out to CZ, "Hey, do you want to buy it?" And he go, it was almost like what Elon does right now. Oh, should I buy this? Should I like you're like, oh, they publicly announced it, and I think once he saw the books, because I think he did see the books,
He invested in
because
them, so
like
he invested
right,
in
he
them,
had
so he
access
knew.
to the books, right? Once he actually but sat down and saw the books and saw that they were over levered and that what they were showing them was absolute bullshit because you weren't showing them anything on chain of your reserves, like that's where you would put it. He pulled out, and then yeah, that's the big crash in
They
November.
say some people say that that's the reason why that they had to get CZ. They had to punish him somehow because they believe it was a U.S. operation. I'm just saying conspiracy theory. None. This is just supposedly
Yeah, I don't know if
that
that's the
he
actual
was a government.
crime that they charged him with. Again, he pled guilty, so at
Yeah,
the
but
end of the day,
the
they
charge
pleaded
they
guilty.
charge him with, apparently a lot of bankers are guilty of the same thing here, but they don't go after them. Like it's obviously they're the same. They're doing the same exact thing. Supposedly, a lot of bankers do the same exact thing, and they don't. They at best, well, at most, they get a fine for it. They don't go to prison for it. Supposedly, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that that's what he did, and he served his time, and now he's out, and I don't think he's involved with Binance right now, although he still, I'm sure, is
Yeah, he's not
advising
allowed to
them.
hold any position for any cryptocurrency as a director or an appointed official, like C suite. But
All right, so I see it here. He violated the Bank Secrecy Act, which whatever, I guess.
Binance is not a bank, and not even in the U.S.
Right.
So
Well,
again, that is making. But I suppose another reason, supposedly, why he pled guilty was because he wants Binance to officially come to the U.S. So he was like, let me do this, let me take
well,
this
they
bullet
had
so
it. They
Binance
had
can come to the
Binance
U.S.
US. They had the US entity. Brian
Yeah,
Brooks was leading Binance US. He was
yeah,
the
but I think he wants.
CEO.
I think they want actual Binance in the U.S. though, because it's like two
Okay.
different. It's a separate entity, and it's really complicated, and it's not the same. You
Well,
know that with regular Binance, you don't even have to have KYC, right? Know your customer. But
well,
with
this goes
Binance
back
U.S., you have
to
to.
yeah to our previous combo of like if you have a very friendly administration and government, then why wouldn't like Binance want to now do business here? Why wouldn't other foreign exchange like a Bybit or even some decentralized exchanges say, listen, I just want to
They'd want to come
comply.
back. They want to come back here, right?
Right.
Because Trump
Give
is
us the
saying
law.
he's like,
We'll
yeah, he's
do
like
the
come back and
law.
yeah. And Trump is saying, hey, listen, as long as you're based in the U.S., you have a pay rate. Supposedly, with the tax situation, it's only for cryptocurrencies based in the U.S., whatever that means. But he says that he's going to give companies outside the U.S., like maybe like a Solana, for example, the ability to move back to the U.S. and then have the tax exemption. Are you still with me? It looks like you might be a little bit frozen, but I'll give you a few seconds. But yeah, it looks like the laws are going to be favorable going into January 20th. I think is inauguration day is January 20th, Martin Luther King Day. So we're gonna hope that Trump gets into office, signs a lot of executive orders, frees Ross, and we get Cynthia Lummis, other Congress people to start, congressmen and women rather, to start just getting the legislation passed through the Congress and committees, Senate, and then on Trump's desk. And with that being said, I believe Fernando is incomunicado at the moment. So upwards and onwards.